الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. أما بعد, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tells us in His glorious book in Surah Ar-Rum, chapter 30 in verse 30. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فأقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. So direct your face toward the religion, inclining to truth. Adhere to the fitrah of Allah upon which He has created all people. No change should there be in the creation of Allah. That is the correct religion, but most of the people do not know. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, when He created us, when He created man, He instilled in us a pure nature. Now this pure nature is designed to recognize the Creator and to be our moral compass in this life. Human nature loves perfection. I mean, we're drawn towards perfection, toward beauty, towards kindness, towards giving, and everything that is noble. So humans are programmed to be in harmony with Allah's divine law and everything that He ordered us, because He's the Creator. He created us. He created the religion, the way of life that we're supposed to follow. The two match 100% because they have the same source. He instilled in man the love of giving, and He ordered him to spend from what he was given. He instilled in man the love of justice, and He ordered man to be just. I mean, the love of justice, even in thieves. When thieves steal something, they demand that it be divided with justice among them. Because it's in human nature. You want justice. So Fitra matches Islam and Allah's law perfectly. The one who acts contrary to Fitra and contrary to Allah's divine law, that's when guilt and depression sets in. Happiness is in matching Fitra and matching Allah's law. That's when you're happy. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. And wajh is, it's not meant to be the face, but it meant to be your focus in life, your direction. That means you need to put your best effort to comply with Allah's orders and to incline towards the truth, towards justice, no matter what the consequences are. That's the only way you're going to be happy, and you will satisfy that fitrah, that innate nature that Allah has instilled in every one of us. It is in our best nature, it's in our nature and in our best interest. Now there's another part, fitrat Allah. Then there's another verse in Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2 in verse 138. Allah talks about Sibgha Allah. Sibgha Allah wa man ahsanu min Allah sibgha wa nahnu lahu abidun. And the translation here, they're translating it, and say ours is the religion of Allah. And who is better than Allah in ordaining religion? And we are worshippers of Him. Now in Arabic, the word Sibgha comes from sabagha, like to tint, to paint, to impart, to impress, to distinguish, to give a special quality. That's what Sibgha means. So Fitra is to love justice. Your innate nature, you love justice. And Sibgha is to be just. So one, you love something, one is you're actually doing it. Fitra is to love honesty, and Sibgha is to be honest. So acting according to Fitra and to divine law brings a believer closer to Allah. When you're implementing everything that Allah told you to do, it brings you closer. This closeness, the closer you are to Allah, it imparts on you from Allah's perfection. The more you strive to be with Allah, the better human being you are. That's Sibghat Allah. It imparts from Allah's beautiful attributes on you when the closer you come to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. You become just. You become merciful. You become kind. You become a model human being the closer you are to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Now, there are ones who exhibit, like if you look at Western countries, they exhibit mercy and justice, but they do it for personal gain. This is something totally different. This has nothing to do with Fitra. They do the right thing because it's good for business. The second that doesn't fit, their mold, they leave it. So these are the virtues that we see in this non-believing societies. It's not based on divine law, but it's based on personal gain. Honesty is good for business, so we'll be honest. Good behavior, is good for business, so you stay like that. But the second, because there's surveillance. You cannot steal because they're monitoring. You got cameras, you got, all kinds of things that monitor, and so everybody behaves. But they're not behaving following Fitra, they're behaving because there's surveillance. The second the power goes out, then you see all the looting and you see all of the problems. They declare human rights and love for animals and all this stuff, but they have no problem killing entire nations. As we see in Muslim, they have no problem with Muslim nations being killed, but God forbid you abuse a dog or something, they'll drag you into court. That has nothing to do with Fitra. This is all based on personal gain and fake morals. You will never find a more perfect person than someone who is close to Allah. That's where the perfection is. Allah is the source of perfection, and the ones who are closer to Him get part of that perfection. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the closest human being to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we see what perfection in morals, in behavior, in everything. He was the perfect human being because he was the closest to Allah. He got the Sibgha from Allah. He got tinted with the perfection of Allah. So if we want to be perfect, the more perfect you want to be, get closer to Allah. And obey Fitra and obey the divine law, and Allah will impart that perfection on you. As a believer, if you find a wallet in the store, you're not going to take it and put it in your pocket. You're going to take it and you're going to try to find the owner. If you can't find the owner, you're going to take it to the lost and found. You're not going to open it. You're not going to see what's in it. Even it could have $1 million in cash in there. You don't care. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. That satisfies Fitra. Because Allah told you that this is not yours. You have no right to it. So Fitra is happy when you take that and give it to the lost and found so they can find the owner. If you put it in your pocket, you go against Fitra, what happens? Guilt and depression must occur. If you have a sound Fitra, if your Fitra hasn't been annihilated, you will feel guilty. So that's what happens when you go along with Fitra or you go against it. The only school that graduates perfect human beings is the University of Allah. Islam is the one that graduates perfect human beings. There is no other man-made law or other whatever law other than Allah's law that will create perfect human beings. And living in a society of believers, which in this country we don't have that sense. But you think about 1,500 years ago, the Sahaba, they had the perfect community. It was heaven on earth. You didn't have to watch your back around others. During the reign of Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, the courts were empty. The judges were sitting there. Nobody came in with any complaint. Now you have 10, 15 years backlog of complaints in Muslim countries, not just in this country, in Muslim countries. Back then, when people followed Islam, knew what was theirs, knew what does not belong to them, and they kept, a safe margin between them and what Allah said you don't do, the society was perfect. They all loved each other. They all lived in harmony. When we transgress that bound, we suffer the consequences. So there's another thing that desire and fitra, people confuse them. Some may say, I'm a young person, I can't help it. It's in my nature to look at women. It's human nature. No, that's desire. Your fitra tells you to lower your gaze. That's how you satisfy fitra. Desire is to look. And Allah says you go against desire because you want to satisfy fitra. Your pure nature, you want to avert your eyes. You don't want people looking at your sister or at your daughter or at your wife. Why do you want to look at other people? I mean, put yourself in other people's shoes. So desires, you want on a cold night, it's time for Fajr and you're sleeping and you're all bundled up. And you're just like, I'm so comfortable. But if you don't get up, your fitra is going to torture you. Getting up for Fajr satisfies fitra. Then you're happy. Lowering your gaze satisfies fitra. Spending from what you have satisfies fitra. While your desire is telling you withhold. You worked hard for it all month. You're going to give it away now to charity? Come on. That's what your desire is going to tell you. Because an-nafs ammara bis-su'. Your own nafs, your devil that's with you, wants to get you to withhold. But Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, you want to be rewarded? Then satisfy fitra. Fitra wants you to give. Be generous. Be selfless. When you satisfy fitra, you feel better. That's when you're happy. So check if you have any confusion between what is fitra and what is desires, check your heart. And a good believer, their heart is their guide. If it feels good, if something that makes you happy, chances are it matches fitra and it matches God's law. If your mother wanted a medicine, it's 11 o'clock at night, most of the pharmacies are closed. But there's a pharmacy that's open 24 hours. You think you can go to sleep telling your mother, oh, everything is closed, we'll check it in the morning? You think your fitra will allow you to sleep that night? Even though your mother, accepted that because it makes sense. Your fitra will never let you rest. So go with the fitra, go with Allah's law. And that's when you're going to get happiness. So anything that matches fitra will bring you happiness and satisfaction. And everything that goes against fitra will give you depression and guilt. And going against desires, when you restrain your desires in obedience to Allah, that's the price of paradise. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.